2025, the year of Xbox Game Pass. You're saying to yourself, what does that mean? It means they actually have games. Because for years, going back to the Xbox One era, they had very little games. Now, it is interesting that they finally have the games, and they're all coming to PlayStation for the most part, which is ridiculous.
Don't say that, man. That's killing me. But
I wish they would have just held out a little bit longer. I understand the financial impact of them going to PlayStation. I just wish it would have been like, dude, just give this a year. This is the year where you could really see what damage you could do to them. But it's too late for that at this point. But let's celebrate what we're getting in Game Pass, because I've had Game Pass off and on for a while. I've had it consecutively for, I don't know, maybe 6 months to a year. And I'm really getting my money's worth this year. So I just want to go through some of the stuff on here that's already come out and stuff that's coming out, throughout the year. The first one on January 2nd, they got Carry On, which is an awesome game. It's kind of like a reverse horror game where you play as a monster. That was on console, PC, and cloud. Later on January 14th, Diablo. Right after that, or at the same day, EA Sports, UFC, FIFA. I'm sorry, UFC, FIFA. EA Sports, UFC 5 came out. We got Kunitsugame, which is a strategy game that's supposed to be very, very good. That hit Game Pass on January 22nd. Let's see, what else is on here?
Oh, January 23rd, we had the Ninja Gaiden Black.
Ninja Gaiden Black, that's right. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Ooh, I'm playing that now. It's hard. It's hard.
Rightfully so. That's what Ninja Gaiden is. But later on in the year, we're going to get the new one also, which is exciting. Mm-hmm. What is that? Ninja Gaiden? Is it 4? Is that what they're calling it? Ninja Gaiden 4? Okay. Yep. Not to be confused with the smaller title, which is I do not think the smaller title, like that 2D one, that is not coming to Game Pass, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, so Ninja Gaiden 2, Orcs Must Die is supposed to be really popular. That was on January 28th. Let's see.
Sniper Elite. If you're big into the sniper games, that dropped earlier this year in January.
Avowed was awesome. I'm playing that now. I really, really like that game a lot. They came out on February 18th. That was probably their first really big title.
I saw that, but I didn't download it.
I love it, Wes.
Yeah.
The combat is fantastic. That's a lot of what, when you guys hear me talk about stuff, I care a lot about gameplay. The gameplay is excellent in Avowed. If you keep it in first-person mode, it wasn't meant to be a third-person game. Don't switch it to third-person. It's a waste of your time. Also put on performance mode. Even then, they need to patch that. The performance mode is kind of choppy. I wish they would fix that.
Was it a straight shooter?
No, it's a first-person action role-playing game.
Okay.
Think of The Legend of Zelda in first person, but they have, your common things like there's like dwarves and like elves and stuff and, things like that are in like your high fantasy games. But the combat's really where the game shines. The combat's excellent. There's a lot of stuff to read. There's a ton of lore, which I kind of care about a little bit. The story's kind of interesting, but I'm mostly there for the excellent combat and the exploration, which, tickles that Legend of Zelda fancy.
Okay.
Balatro came out on February 24th. That was the game of the year last year. That hit Game Pass. 33 Immortals, that was a new title, right? That came out on March 18th. Wasn't that new?
Yes. Because there was a game just called Immortals that came out like last year.
Blizzard Arcade Collection, March 25th. Atomfall was a pretty popular Fallout type game that came out on March 27th. Let's see. What else is big on here?
Well, I know the one that just dropped April 8th at South of Midnight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
looked interesting.
That's from the guys who did We Happy Few. I can't remember the name of the team, but yeah, that game looks really cool.
It looks interesting. I was thinking about downloading that just to give it a shot. It's on Game Pass. Why not? It's free.
I was going to play it right after Avowed, but Avowed has completely owned me. I don't know. Dude, I'm playing Avowed like every day, like at least for a little bit. I'm probably getting like, somewhere between 15 minutes to an hour every day in Avowed.
Oh, nice.
But
yeah, I want to try to finish Indiana Jones before I jump into that, but I am going to download it.
You got to finish Indiana Jones, man. You got to. Love that game. Blue Prince was on April 10th. We should mention that because Indiana Jones was the end of last year. That was a December release. So that's really when all this kicked off. It started with that. And then you got stuff in January, in February. We're in April. We just mentioned South of Midnight. Blue Prince came out on April 10th. That game's supposed to be awesome. Let's see what else is on here.
You got Doom. May 15th.
Oh yeah, man.
The
Doom.
Dark
Come on.
Ages.
Come on.
You got that. You got July. You got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4.
Yep.
So there's a lot of quality stuff coming on Game Pass.
Yeah. Ninja Gaiden 4 will be out this year. You know what's crazy is Fable got pushed, but Fable would have been this year on top of all that. And the Outer Worlds 2 is this year too. The Outer Worlds 2 will be out before the end of the year. So that's another big title. That's another Obsidian game.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it kills me that Xbox is kind of going by way of Sega being third party, but they're keeping Game Pass alive, and just looking at the sheer number of titles coming out is impressive.
It's the year Game Pass for me. I mean, I barely touched my PlayStation this year. I touched my Switch a little bit, but it's been ever since Indiana Jones. It's been Xbox all day. That Game Pass, man, just dude. It's been worth it. It's been worth it. I'm telling you that much. It might not have been worth it before Indiana Jones, but it's been worth it every month since then. So this is really just about giving them a shout out. You know, they worked hard to get to this point with their games. Mm-hmm. Again, I wish they were coming out. I can't even say physically anymore because their physical games are a joke, which we're going to get into in a little while about digital games and stuff. But like the Xbox physical games are mostly just blank discs that have an unlock code on them. There's no data on the disc or very little data at all. The game is not on the disc for almost all their releases now. So I have no. I'll get into it later. I'm just going to go on a tangent right now.
Bro, that broke my heart when you told me that. I'm like, that just shattered all my hopes and dreams. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said earlier, if they would have just given this year and seen what their games could do without PlayStation, that if that could have put any kind of like pressure on PlayStation or like could have eaten into some of their market share, I would have loved to have seen it. But now we'll never know. Now they're just going to cash in and get money on both systems. You know.
I know. I wish they could have held on just a little longer. Yeah, because the sheer number of titles that are coming out. And a lot of them are Xbox exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would have been nice. I wanted to see the console wars go on just a little longer.
Yeah, I mean they are still making hardware. Like they've already announced there's going to be another Xbox, which is great. Like I'm happy to hear that. I'll be less happy to hear that there's no disc drive because I'm pretty confident that that's coming. But I have a lot of money invested in Xbox. The majority of my games are on Xbox. So the fact that I get to keep the ecosystem and my digital games will move over, I'm happy about. But that means my Xbox Series X, if there is no disc drive, is probably going to be hooked up till the end of time because there's like 550 games on my Xbox hard drive. Like that's there's tons and tons of games on there. Maybe they're not all on the hard drive, but I can access them. And if the next console doesn't have a disc drive, maybe I can only access half of them or something like that.
Okay. You just said that most of your games are on Xbox. Why is that?
I prefer the controller. I prefer their ecosystem. Xbox One was a little shaky, but I really like Xbox's interface now, the way it is today. I like it better than PlayStation. PlayStation's is boring. It's very scroll to the left, scroll to the right. Dude, you've been doing the same thing since PS3. I get it. Scroll to the left, scroll to the right. I understand. Xbox just has a little bit more personality to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just curious.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been buying games there longer. Like digital games, I've been buying there longer since the Xbox 360 is really where it began. Most people started digital libraries on like probably PS4, but my digital library started on Xbox 360, PS3, and I was way more into Xbox during that generation than I ever was PS3.
Okay. The reason I ask, I want to say I'm pretty much there with you. I've been trying to show my PS5 some love lately, though, because like I was in GameStop and I pre-ordered like a bunch of titles, and I did a good mix. I did, some Xbox, some PS5, just to kind of show my PlayStation 5 a little bit of love.
Well, let's reverse the question. Why do you primarily have your games on Xbox?
Ooh, I guess it goes back to what I was kind of used to, because like you said, original Xbox and 360, and that was like the focus. Because they were winning in the console wars. 360 blew PlayStation 3 out of the water.
Yeah, PS3 came back and actually beat them in sales by the end of
Hmm.
their generation. But I mean, for that whole generation, PS3 was getting punched in the face almost the entire time until like the very end.
Yeah, and the Xbox Live, I loved it, and I kind of stuck with it,
Yeah,
and it
they
just.
owned you at the right time to own you. That's when you
Hmm.
needed to be owned, and they owned you then. That's the same thing for me. Like PlayStation 3, I wanted nothing to do with their online stuff. I tried it like once. I was like, this is dumb. Like, how the hell are you guys even using this thing? And sure, it's better now. PS4 made big improvements. PS5 is great. But it to the point that I'm making is you didn't own me when you needed to own me. Xbox did. And
Yeah,
that's why all my stuff is there.
yeah. And then Xbox One came out, and they had me because they gave me Killer Instinct, and then they gave me Dead Rising.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of, I just stayed. And not that I dislike my PlayStation at all,
Dude, I have every PlayStation. I'm right there with you. I have all of
but
it.
I do spend more time on my Xbox than my PlayStation.
The only generation that statement was not true for me was PS4 and Xbox One. That was a horrendous console launch. Like, I mean, not the entire library. Not to say that the entire thing was bad, but I mean, dude, I had like very little interest in Xbox One. I didn't like the way the machine looked. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like the interface of the machine. I didn't like all the weird stuff they were talking about with DRM, and then they changed things. Like their messaging was terrible. They had no like a lot of games missed that console. I could go on, but I really did dislike the Xbox One. And for that generation, PlayStation 4 certainly was my console of
Yeah.
choice.